What kind of man would set fire to his own villages just to starve, confuse, and demoralize an invading army? In the spring of 1462, Mehmed II, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire and conqueror of Constantinople, launched a military campaign into Wallachia. To crush the resistance of Vlad III, voivode of Wallachia, known to history as Vlad Tepes or Vlad the Impaler. What the Sultan encountered was not a standing army awaiting battle in open fields, but a scorched and desolate land poisoned by its own ruler. As the Ottoman army advanced across the Danube into Wallachia, they entered a wasteland. Vlad ordered the systematic destruction of crops, wells, and entire villages. Homes were burned, granaries emptied or destroyed. This was not mere cruelty, it was a strategic act of resistance. Vlad knew that his forces, numbering far fewer than Mehmed's estimated 90,000 troops, could not hope to win a traditional engagement. Instead, he turned Wallachia itself into a weapon. Entire populations were evacuated or eradicated in the path of the Ottomans. According to a letter written by Vlad himself to Matthias Corvinus of Hungary in 1462, he described the tactic with brutal clarity. "I have killed peasants, men and women, old and young. We have burned down everything." This document, preserved in the Hungarian National Archives, is one of the rare first-hand accounts where Vlad unapologetically details his scorched earth campaign. The policy worked. Ottoman troops, unfamiliar with the terrain and suffering from disease and starvation, found themselves in a hostile land stripped of resources. Morale began to crumble. Soldiers reportedly abandoned their posts in fear, their ranks thinned not by battle, but by exhaustion, hunger, and despair. This was not warfare as the Ottomans knew it. It was annihilation without confrontation. At the heart of Vlad Tepes's uncompromising resistance stood a calculated use of psychological warfare. When they reached the fortresses guarding Wallachia's interior, particularly the citadel of Targoviste, they were met with a chilling and unmistakable warning. Thousands of symbolic remnants displayed on high wooden stakes. These were trophies, not of nobility, but of captured Ottoman soldiers, scouts, and even diplomats. Vlad punished these messengers after they refused to remove their turbans before him, claiming religious observance. Beyond the gates of fortresses, roads leading to major towns such as Bucharest and Targoviste were also lined with stakes bearing grim remains. Ottoman soldiers reportedly recoiled in horror, and contemporary Ottoman chroniclers admitted that even the hardened warriors in Mehmed's army were shaken by the sight. For Vlad III of Wallachia, known to his contemporaries as Vlad Tepes, meaning the Impaler, impalement was not merely a punishment. It was a weapon of statecraft, a performance of control intended to instill fear in enemies, discipline his own people, and define his rule in a region constantly contested by empires. The process involved driving a long wooden stake through the person's body, typically from the lower torso and upward. Vlad's officials took care to position the figures in deliberate rows, formations, and heights, producing what foreign observers described as entire forests of fallen bodies. One of the most well-documented uses of mass impalement occurred in 1462, as Sultan Mehmed II's forces approached Targoviste. Chroniclers describe how Vlad ordered the display of approximately 20,000 captives, primarily Ottoman prisoners, but also some Wallachian subjects accused of disloyalty. Tursun Bey, a historian present during Mehmed's campaign, recorded that the Sultan halted his advance upon witnessing the field of impalements and was visibly disturbed by what he saw. Mehmed, accustomed to warfare, reportedly remarked that one could not defeat a man who treated his enemies and his own people with such severity. But impalement was not limited to times of war. Vlad used the punishment regularly within Wallachia to enforce discipline and punish theft, dishonesty, and betrayal. Even minor offenses could result in impalement if Vlad deemed the violation a threat to order. According to a report by the Saxon chronicler Michael Beheim, Vlad once sentenced a woman in this way for lying about her husband's labor to avoid work, an act he considered a danger to civic virtue. To his enemies, impalement was terror. To Vlad, it was justice, order, and dominance. During the relentless campaign of 1462, Vlad Tepes, voivode of Wallachia, confronted the advancing Ottoman Empire not only with scorched earth and forests of symbolic executions. Vlad visibly disfigured Ottoman prisoners before releasing them. Eyes were damaged, noses and ears removed, and others were permanently scarred or had their limbs impaired. These acts were not improvised cruelty, but carefully orchestrated punishments intended to terrify the Sultan's forces and destabilize morale. Beyond physical harm, Vlad reportedly humiliated prisoners before sending them away. According to 15th century Slavic texts, he sometimes branded captives with hot irons or etched symbolic shapes into their skin, punishments that fused bodily torment with cultural mockery. Some historians interpret these as acts of religious provocation toward Muslim prisoners, although this view is not consistently confirmed across all sources. This strategy mirrored Vlad's wider use of terror as a form of deterrence. Unlike executions, which ended a message, these scarred survivors were spared, not to live freely, but to speak fear into others. Their altered forms spoke louder than any scroll could deliver. To Mehmed II, who had conquered Constantinople just 9 years earlier, this cruelty was an insult not only to military custom, but to imperial pride. A ruler who returned his enemies in pieces was stating, without diplomacy or restraint, that he feared no reprisal. Vlad's maimed captives weren't accidents, they were proclamations. They returned not as fighters, but as proof of the Impaler's resolve. Vlad Tepes weaponized terror with a cold precision that echoed far beyond 1462. His scorched earth, forests of stakes, and maimed envoys remind us how power can turn cruelty into strategy, fear into policy. Which of Vlad's tactics do you think most undermined Ottoman morale? Scorched villages, displayed captives, or marked survivors? Comment below. In the end, the message was not carved into stone. It was left to fade on the stake. This was not just a victory for Vlad, but a psychological defeat for Mehmed. The terrifying acts of Vlad were not only designed to defeat the enemy, but to strengthen the resolve of his own forces. Vlad's strategy was unparalleled in its precision and psychological impact. Vlad's people lived under constant fear, but they also admired the leader who ruled with such terrifying force. Every victory was followed by a ruthless reminder that Vlad would stop at nothing to protect his people. Vlad's leadership inspired unwavering loyalty, even in the face of unimaginable horror. Impalement was his signature weapon, a method designed not only to punish, but to instill fear. Each stake served as a powerful reminder of what awaited anyone who dared defy him. Each stake served as a powerful reminder of what awaited anyone who dared defy him. His enemies never knew whether the next move would be a battle or another act of brutal terror. And so, the story of Vlad the Impaler is not just one of a man who fought. It's the tale of terror, control, and a leader who wielded fear as his ultimate weapon.